we really wanted it to be like a maximalist comic and really sort of almost overwhelming to read and digest and look at. There's a ton of background jokes or just information. You know, everybody is a different kind of mutant, which isn't super convenient when you're drawing it.
We have another incredible comic creator joining us, another fantastic voice in the space. So, my dearest, darlingest friends, please, as all theater kids do, let's give a round of applause. Let's put our hands together for the creator of Justice Warriors, founder of the Nib, Matt Bors is joining us today. Hi, Matt.
Hey, what's happening? Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining. I sure didn't ask how to pronounce your last name before I brought you on, so I hope I did justice.
Yeah, you got it.
Like the Arthurian knight.
I learned it's Hungarian, and in Hungarian it means pepper, which is kind of
Ooh, I love that.
Matt Pepper.
Matt Pepper. That's your streamer name? That's your like superhero name? In some other extrapolation, your secret identity. Matt's been having quite a week this week, and I could not do this chat alone because we've written some incredible coverage. I say we. It has all been our one and only Tiffany Babb. So welcome, Tiffany, to our chat today. Okay, Matt. First of all, how has your week been? How has the decompression? How has all the love that's come your way from the internet been?
That actually good.
Good.
You know, I announced that the Nib was going to close later this summer, and that the new issue that's out will be our last one. And you know, a lot of people were kind of shocked and saddened by that. For me, it's something that I've been walking up to for a while. You know, so I've had a little more time to deal with it. So I was kind of okay with it by the time I made the announcement, but there was a huge outpouring of readers and contributors that were writing me, you know, privately and publicly to talk about it. And that's been nice.
Oh, nice. Wait, I also want to ask, because this was in your bio, where in Canada are you?
Oh,
are you
I don't say for
saying?
I'm in like rural Ontario.
I am from Ontario originally, so I was
cool.
like, I wonder if we were neighbors at some point.
Yeah, I'm from the US, but I moved up here a few years ago to my wife's hometown, basically.
Wild. I did the opposite. So that question was for nobody except me. Oh, that's okay. Tiffany, can I throw to you? Because you wrote all of our coverage. So give us some of your insights and let's see what Matt has to say about it.
Yeah. Hi, Matt. It's nice to meet you. Congratulations on running the Nib for 10 years.
Thanks.
And I think this week everybody's always respected the publication, but this week is kind of a moment to celebrate all that you've done. And as you wrap up your time with the publication, what are you most proud of over the last 10 years?
I mean, I guess there's a lot. I mean, you know, I'll throw out there, not to pat myself on the back too much, but
we paid out
$2 million to Cartoonist over the course of the 10 years and ran, that's, you know, to publish thousands and thousands of comics, a lot of them exclusive to the site, and journalism that included, you know, sending people places. The thing that I'm most proud of for sure is the magazine, which we didn't launch until, I don't know, 6 or 7 years into publishing. This is the last issue, the future issue, which has a good cover to go out on. It's a Ben Passmore comment on AI art. But, you know, the magazine is definitely the thing that I was sort of obsessively moving toward for years and really wanted to create. And I mean, it would be nice if it could go on for longer, but I feel like I did everything I wanted to do with it. And we also you did 15 shows. We did 15 print magazines. So the magazine maybe is what I'm most proud of.
As you wrap up your time with the publication and with the magazine, is there anything you want to tease with what's coming up in the next couple months? You have one more issue, and then you have 3 more months of online publication.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing to tease with the Nib. It's just, you know, we're going to run our regular weekly people, and then everything that we still have some from the previous issue, the magazine, and the current issue that's coming out to to run online. So that usually takes months usually, because there's like, you know, big pieces that we do one a week. There's no real plans for me beyond the nib. I mean, I'm a lifer in comics, so I'm gonna do comics. I want to do more of my own comics. I don't really have anything lined up in particular, other than the series I think we're going to talk about, Justice Warriors.
Yes.
That's intended to be like a long running series with multiple volumes. So I'm going to work on a second volume of that, and then beyond that, I don't know. I have ideas for things in the back of my head, but I'm not like really moving on anything yet.
Is it freeing to have that kind of unknown before you after so much dedicated content on such a schedule?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for one, I was doing political cartoons for 18 years and I quit those in 2021. And definitely since then, I've been, you know, itching to sort of do more of my own work again. I mean, I'm a cartoonist first. And then for the last 10 years, I've been running the nib, which has been great and rewarding in a lot of ways, but also, you know, running a daily publication. It's like there's always something coming up, always something to do. And that hasn't really stopped yet. It'll start slowing down soon, because we're not going to be working on another issue of the magazine like we have been for years. So I'll start to get freed up. And yeah, and then I think I can start, you know, thinking about these other comic ideas I mentioned and how to approach them, or have some time to actually work on something else for the first time in a long time.
Speaking of Justice Warriors, you just had your first trade out a couple months ago. Congrats on that. For people who don't know, it's great satire about policing and government from like a sci-fi perspective. What was it like to work as a cartoonist, to work with another artist or artists, because you had a color artist?
Yeah, I loved it. You know, didn't have to do as much work. I mean, you know, Ben Clarkson is the co-author and co-creator on this, and Justice Warriors is sort of his brainchild, and he brought me in. And it's just sort of the type of thing that I've gravitated to for a long time, even if I haven't produced this kind of work, which is genre fiction, sci-fi, satire. You know, it's right up my alley. So yeah, I mean, it was great to work with other artists. You know, like I said, I didn't have to do all the drawing myself. If I did, I wouldn't have been able to make it, because I was working at the nib full time. But I like that collaborative process. I mean, the nib is kind of like that, as like in an editorial way. You know, we get together, the editors, we talk about the theme of the issue, what we want to assign, if there's subjects that aren't covered, and we kind of produce it together collectively. And, you know, I like collaborating. I mean, I like producing my own work, but I want to do a lot more collaboration in the future. I like writing, and I'm perfectly happy to let people who are better at drawing than me draw the stories.
Tiffany alluded to the unique tone that Justice Warriors had. I really want to describe it as Judge Dredd, but funnier in a lot of ways. Like, it gives me that vibe of like English comics. And I want to know how you found what that was going to be, because it is such a fine line between being kind of scary, but then very funny.
Yeah. Well, first of all, you might be able to see this. I have an insane Judge Dredd collection there. So I'm a big fan of that. Although, like I said, Ben really kind of came up with the whole world and pitched it to me to create together. So, you know, I think you're right. We're trying to be a little funnier and even more over the top than Judge Dredd. Trying to be more political than really maybe, you know, anything on sort of the monthly comics racks. And also have fun with it. Like, you know, it's an action story. It's got lowbrow humor and poop jokes, and also, you know, talks about police violence and capitalism and stuff. So we're trying to hit a lot of boxes, tick a lot of boxes, hit a lot of targets. I don't know the right way to phrase it, but yeah, that's what we're going for.
One thing that really stood out to me with this comic was how dense it was, like both with the amount of jokes, the bits, even visually. Do you feel like that comes from your background as a political cartoonist?
Yeah, you know, me and Ben are kind of on the same page with a lot of our influences and our politics and everything, and we really wanted it to be like a maximalist comic and really sort of almost overwhelming to read and digest and look at. There's a ton of background jokes or just information. You know, everybody is a different kind of mutant, which isn't super convenient when you're drawing it. Jokes or just information. You know, everybody is a different kind of mutant, which isn't super convenient when you're drawing it. But you know, Ben has to come up with crazy designs for every random background character. There's a lot of, you know, urban blight and graffiti and just surveillance cameras everywhere. And like we wanted you to, like, the world itself, the world of Justice Warriors, which takes place in Bubble City, which is a domed city where that's perfect. Everybody's happy. There's no crime inside. And then outside is a huge, sprawling, really unending place called the Uninhabited Zone, which is, of course, inhabited by millions upon millions of mutants. So that's the basic setup. And the world itself is sort of a character that, you know, guides everybody. So we really wanted it to be as immersive and as detailed and do as much world building as possible.
I would love to know, because we're winding down our time with you, what is your best advice to aspiring creatives? And I think because you come from such a unique history, maybe your best advice on collaborating with a lot of other people, because doing both journalism and creating comics require teamwork, and you've sort of extolled the virtues of that in our chat.
That's a good question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, collaborate. I never really thought about advice for collaborating with other people. I don't know. You know, the point of collaborating is that other people can bring in good ideas, and then you get to, you know, take co-credit for them. I mean, you know, you kind of, I mean that in the way that, like, you know, you got to sort of put your ego aside a little bit, and if you want to do some pure vision of how you see things, then you're going to have to write and draw and letter a comic on your own. And then, which, you know, as a cartoonist who does all that, I know sometimes we do have that vision, and like, you want things to be a certain way. I know I have like high standards for how I want Justice Warriors to be and how I want a Nib magazine to be. But you work with talented people, and then they also bring good ideas to the table. And then like with the Nib, everybody says, well, the Nib is great and we love the Nib. And it's not, you know, I get a lot of credit for it. It's not just me. It's like people that I work with, like Larry Harris and Maddie Lubchansky and tons of other people who bring ideas in and make it what it is.
It seems like it's just be incredibly talented, because you do all the parts of making a comic, and then bring in incredibly talented people.
Yeah, if you're talented and you work with other talented people, you can't go wrong. So that's...
I would love to leave you both with the same question that I asked Preeti when I sent her off. What are you both geeking out about right now that you are not working on? Dun, dun, dun.
I'll say I'm geeking out on my daughter's illustration book that she's working on, which is just a bunch of random characters, mermaids and princesses and stuff that she absorbs through you know, shows. And she's pretty good. She's a pretty good artist, as opposed to my younger son, who I love, and he has many other great attributes, but cannot draw anything.
Your son and I are of the same ilk. How about you, Tiffany?
That sounds great. I am geeking over, I'm almost finished with R.F. Kuang's new book, Yellowface, which is about a woman who her literary star best friend dies, and she steals her manuscript and tries to pass it off as her own. And it is this satire about the lit world, but also possibly like the best novel about Twitter ever written. So highly recommend. I'm like this close to deleting my Twitter at this point of the book. But it's just so funny and terrifying, but also it's such a great read.
Tiffany, thank you for joining us. I'm going to send you away, because we've had you on and we'll have you on many times in the future. And we're going to wrap up by saying goodbye to Matt. But Matt, thank you so much for joining us here in the Popverse today. You are at Matt Bors. It's just the name everywhere on social media. Justice Warriors can be ordered everywhere fine comics are had. Is there anything else that you want to point people toward before I send you two into the ether?
I would just say go to thenib.com, and you could buy the new issue, the future issue, and then most of our back issues, which are still in stock.
There you are. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Popverse and holding it down in my homeland.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Later.